Well, our guest has been on our program before, Jeff Belanger. You may know him as the host of New England Legends. You can still see that on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime. And then the New England Legends podcast, which I'm always astounded at how you can constantly find creepy stories out of the New England area. It seems like they're never ending. Is it getting harder at some point to find the creepy stories in the region?
Well, something cool kind of happened along the way. We started to build an audience, and at this point, most of it's crowdsourced. So people are listening, and I didn't grow up in every little town, but someone did, and they're like,
Right.
"Oh, in my little town in Maine, we had this crazy story," and they send it in, and I go, "Oh yeah, that is good," and so very fortunate that the audience has pretty much helped along the way.
Well, it's a lot of fun knowing so many creepy and terrible things happen in this area. And then now you have another book out, and this is again terrible and creepy, and it has to do with the holidays, and I love it. It's called The Fright Before Christmas. Last time you were on, we talked about this a little bit, and we've been talking for years now, and you always have told me that Christmas and the holidays and winter in general is way scarier than Halloween will ever be. And this book has all the proof you need in it. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it turns out so Halloween is halfway between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. It's like the sun setting on the year. But if that's the sunset, midnight is the winter solstice, is midwinter, is Christmas, right? That's the time to be afraid. It's the darkest, longest night. It's the shortest day. It's the time that we have to stay inside. The elements are a danger to us. We look at the landscape. We see that winter kills everything. It kills the flowers and the grass and the trees. They're naked and skeletal. It even kills the ponds and the lakes. They're frozen solid. It kills everything out there, and we're petrified. And we wonder if we'll even survive till the spring. And out of that, an awful lot of monsters were born that have been intertwined with an otherwise festive holiday. But yeah, Halloween could scare you with ghosts. Christmas could kill you with monsters.
Right. Not just kill you, but turn you into a stew in some cases, or at least your children, which is just
That,
horrifying. Uh,
that's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about Krampus and many other characters, but what I want to start on is where the celebrations at the winter solstice and Christmas came from, and that was Saturnalia and Yule.
That's right.
These were the celebrations that were like, okay, we're done with the harvest, we're going into winter. Let's whoop it up one more time because we might not see the spring.
Well, and it's not just that, but it was also, if you've had beef with your neighbors, this is the festival to put that beef aside. We're going to give each other gifts. We're going to drink together. We're going to feast together, because we know if something goes south in the winter, something goes horribly wrong, I might be knocking at your door saying, "Hey, my roof collapsed. Can you take my family in?" And you might be doing the same. And then come the spring, we can go back to arguing with each other and be jerks until the next winter. But that's what it was about, and it was about just turning society on its ear. Saturnalia was a time when the masters became the servants became the
Yeah.
masters, and it was almost like a steam valve on the year. And I think a good modern analogy is, if you've ever been lucky enough to have a job that gives you a year-end bonus, if the bonus is good enough, you look past a whole year of abuse. you
Right.
know?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And if it's not good enough, you're like, "I'm quitting in January."
Yeah. That's right. This is it. This
Yeah,
is.
right.
I just get a handful of barley and some deer skin for crying out loud.
Yeah, right. I'm
You
done
know.
with it.
Well, that started with the Romans, according to your book,
Hmm.
and everybody knows that Romans love their orgies, and this
They
was
do.
an occasion to whip up an orgy and just get blottoed and go on for sometimes weeks.
Yeah, it was a 6-day festival, December 17th to the 23rd. So we're right in the thick of it right now, right? This
Okay.
is
So I'm
we
late.
are
I'm late to the orgy. You're saying?
you are late to the orgy.
Oh
This
no.
is mid Saturnalia right now. But yeah, a week-long party that started outside of Rome and then moved into the city and then just sort of spread. And so many of those traditions, the dressing festive and making merry and celebrating with drinks and food and wine, they continue to this day under different guises, but they're still around.
And then Yule
Yeah.
is kind of the same thing, but it's more. I guess this is what we're. Is this Yule something we base Christmas more on
Yeah,
here?
this is where we really get so many of our traditions. So I said before, you look out on the landscape and see that winter kills everything, but there's one tree it doesn't kill, and that's the evergreen. And you go,
Yes.
oh, hey, the evergreen must be more powerful than winter. And when you're inside, especially at night, you hear sounds you don't hear the rest of the year. I mean, it might just be the wind whipping through those naked trees, or it could be the shrieking cries of spirits who are being chased down by the Norse god Odin through the sky on his wild hunt.
Oh, jeez.
It's so we put those evergreen branches over our doors and windows that the prickly needles will keep the bad spirits outside and the good spirits inside. And we take the tree inside as a symbol to say, like, all right, this tree can get through winter, we can get through winter. All that stuff, the wreath on the front door, the evergreens, lighting the candles, all of that stuff has nothing to do with Christianity and everything to do with these old wonderful pagan festivals, and we still carry those traditions.
A side note, one thing that has defied death over my lifetime is the fake tree I bought at Spags 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
there is something more powerful than the evergreen, but I get it. That's cool. It's all right.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
with Saturnalia and Yule and the celebrations that came with them, according to your book, this is what I got. This led to an actual banning of Christmas in
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Yep.
When
Awesome.
when was that?
That was the 1650s, and what happened was the Puritans had taken over British Parliament in England, and we were still England back then, and they banned Christmas altogether. You had to go to work. Parliament would hold session. You had to go to school, and Christmas was not a big deal, like, outside of people just having these festivals. And they posted public notice calling it a, quote, satanical practice to dress festive, give gifts, make merry, and so on.
Whoa.
You'd be fined 5 shillings, which was like 3 days' pay
Yeah.
for the working class.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was no joke. They meant it. And even after the ban was lifted after a few decades, Christmas still wasn't a thing. That would come much, much later.
It's interesting to hear that because I've been hearing so much over the past few years of the war on Christmas, which I'm sorry, that's a load of BS because it seems like now they're putting Christmas stuff out in August. So there's no war. If anything, there's a war on summer, to rush us into the winter,
Right.
And so it's so funny that Christmas was banned by Christians
That's right.
who thought it was too out of hand.
There was a war on Christmas. It's just not the one you thought. So
Right.
the first Christmas was 336 A.D., December 25th. It was decreed by the Emperor Constantine in Rome because he needed to try to sell Jesus to pagans. And that's where it sat for ever since. And so Christians were at war with that holiday, with that date, from 336 right up until, I don't know, the 1960s, the 1970s, when they sort of gave up and said, no, it's our holiday. And it's too bad because it used to include everyone. I mean, if you were affected by the winter solstice, whether you were Jewish or atheist or Christian or what have you, it didn't matter. If winter affects you, the holiday was for all of us. And only recently have we tried to really slap a religious label on it, which is a shame because it really should include everyone.
It just shows you how much people pay attention to history, really.
Not much.
Yeah. If they only knew that draping entrails around your tree was something you should be doing for the holiday. And then that's where the popcorn garland came from, right?
That's right, yeah. So when our Nordic ancestors would make a kill, they would put the entrails around an evergreen as an offering to this tree. Not only was it an offering to the tree, but other animals could pick it clean, and maybe they too could survive the winter. And so that when you're putting garland around your tree, whether it's popcorn and cranberries or wood blocks or what have you, you're basically reenacting a very ancient pagan rite of entrails. I say go back to the original, right? Get some entrails this year and just drape them around the tree.
Listen, I've mentioned it to the wife, and she is not letting it happen, unfortunately. And I'm a big fan of entrails. I mean, you fry those things up.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff. But yeah, it's amazing how much of the Christmas stuff that we celebrate comes from that. Now, I want to talk about, really, the book focuses on all of the incredibly terrifying characters that come with the holidays. I want to start with, I think it's pronounced Karen Kolos? Karen Kokolos. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, this one seems extra especially scary.
So the Caraconchulus is from Bulgaria and that region. He's a subterranean Bigfoot with glowing red eyes who comes out during the
I
12 days
love
of
it.
Christmas. I know, right? How does he not have a movie deal yet? Uh,
I'd rather him than Santa. Forgive me for saying that, or maybe
well,
not.
okay. No, it's funny you say that because hold on, stay with me a second.
Okay, all
So the
right.
Caraconchulus, he comes out during the 12 days of Christmas, also called the unbaptized days or the unholy days over there, and he's going to try to jump on your back, claw at you, and ride you until dawn when he has to go back on
Yes.
underground. But he's a shapeshifter. He can look like anyone or anything, including Santa Claus. So when you're looking around this holiday season, maybe it's that annoying, aunt who comes to your house each holiday, or a neighbor, or what have you. Maybe it's them, but maybe it's the Caraconchulus in disguise who's trying to get into your house. And if he gets into your house, you're in serious trouble. I say don't risk it. Leave him out.
That totally reminds me of my Uncle George from Buffalo, who would come in and always sleep on the couch at my grandmother's house and smoke his merits until the place stunk to all high hell, and he'd give everybody lottery tickets for Christmas. So maybe that was the Caraconchulus.
Yeah, that's probably what got into your house.
Wow.
And had you just kept it out, you would have been safer.
Makes sense from Buffalo, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
Absolutely.
there's I don't know, I hope I'm saying this right, the Mahdi Lode.
Mighty Lord. Yes, so the one thing you need to be on the lookout right now, these days, and even after Christmas a little bit, is a dead gray horse rising from the grave and trying to get into your house.
Oh, my God. Season's greetings.
I know. Where did we go wrong? So the Mighty Lord is from Wales, and it literally translates to the gray mare, and it's a ghostly horse that'll have a human handler that goes door to door, and there's this call and response, and they're trying to be clever and get into your house. If they get in, you have to give them food and alcohol, and then they have a few drinks, and then go to the next house and try to get in. It's amazing, and this almost went away, but I think the internet sort of brought it back, and it's a literal horse skull and a white sheet over a person, and then a regular handler, and they just go door to door making merry and getting inside. And in my experience, anything that gets you free treats and free alcohol, it tends to catch on.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like one of my neighbors. My neighborhood may be infested with these creatures. What about the La Befana?
La Befana is the Italian Christmas witch. I don't have Italian heritage, but boy, on Epiphany Eve, I wish I did. So she comes around on the 11th night, the final evening of the Christmas season, and she's a witch riding a broom. She'll come down your chimney. She'll leave little treats in the shoes of your children. But the very best part is, before she leaves, she'll clean your house.
Oh, my God, that's fantastic.
I know. I don't know how we sign up for this, but I'm putting my name on the waiting list.
Wow. And she brings treats for the kids.
Yeah, you can't lose.
Wow. That's not scary at all.
No, I know. Well, coming down your chimney and invading your house, riding a broom, a little, but I think the payoff makes it well worth it.
Yeah, seriously. I may start writing my letters to her instead of Santa. And then finally, one of the many that are in Fright Before Christmas. We're only tackling a couple here. Is it the Père Foutard?
Père Foutard.
Père Foutard.
From France. Now this one is brutal. So the backstory is and I'm just going to say it. You might have to beep this.
Okay, I'm ready.
We're going for it. So the backstory is one of the many miracles attributed to St. Nicholas. 3 young children long ago were lost in a snowstorm, and they come upon this village, and they find a little hut with a light on, and it's the butcher shop. And they go inside, and there's no meat in there, there's nothing, just the butcher. And they say, "Can we please take shelter here?" And he says, "Sure. Why don't you come in the back?" Then he kills the children, and he puts their meat out for sale in salting tubs. Now, St. Nicholas happens by, his spidey senses tingle, and he goes inside. He not only knows what the meat is, but who the meat is. And through the miracle of St. Nicholas, he's able to reconstitute the children back together again, and they're going to be okay. After decades of therapy, they'll be fine.
Right.
Then he looks at the cannibalistic butcher, the Christmas cannibal, and he says, "No more killing children. From now on, you work for me. You are Père Foutard," which means Father Whipper. And from now on, you just go around and you only whip the naughty children that I tell you to whip. and no more killing them. And ever since then, he has been the servant of Saint Nicholas, and he'll show up together on December 6th, Saint Nicholas side by side with Père Fouettard, who's covered in a dark cloak and a black beard that covers his face, and carrying a switch of sticks, and he will beat the naughty children that Saint Nicholas tells him to beat.
Now, this sounds like my favorite character or legend from the holidays, and that is the Belschnickel. It sounds very similar.
Right.
Is that how
Yep.
it kind of morphed into that?
Yeah, the Belschnickel gets around, and so the Belschnickel's from Germany and Austria. Père Fouettard is from France. Not really that far geographically speaking, and so yeah, it's absolutely very much a French version of that story. But the backstory of Père Fouettard is just unsurpassed.
It really is, Jeff. Like you said, it's surprising there aren't more movies about these creatures.
You know, who knows what goes from here? Because when the Krampus movie came out in 2015, you know, Krampus was already bubbling up. That's why Hollywood reacted to it. And since then, he's just gotten bigger. I mean, there's Krampus runs, there's Krampus festivals all over the world, not just in Germany. I mean, there was a Krampus festival in Providence just a couple weeks ago. And I mean, this stuff I think is just getting bigger. I think we're looking to get back to the darker ways of this holiday that were always there, but it's finally offering us some balance for people that are really humbugging this over saccharine sweet, over commercialized holiday. You know, this stuff gets back to the real roots of it.
I think it's two things. I think with this terrifying stuff, it just accents the joy part of the holidays. You know, you have extreme, awful just terror, but then you have the parts of the holidays with the family and the love and the presents and things. So it makes you appreciate that more. And the second thing is, I think people are just basically coming to terms with they're losing control of their kids and they need help.
Yes, and who better to help
right?
than some monster that's willing to beat them, kill them, eat them, whatever it takes.
Right. Hey, get off your phone or Krampus is going to come, and that's the last thing you're going to worry about is who's on TikTok today.
Krampus is just standing in the corner of your living room, just sort of hitting the sticks against his hand slowly, right?
Oh, God.
You give him a nod and point, and then he springs to action. Oh, imagine.
Now, most of these creatures come from a part of the world like Central Europe, Northern Europe. And so are there now only because that's probably because that's where Christianity first took hold.
Sure.
And most of these I would imagine are kind of come out of Christianity before Christianity and being absorbed into it. What about other parts of the world, Jeff? Are there like Africa or South America or North America? You know, are there any things that come out of that, legends that come out of those areas?
So not nearly as much, except the ones that traveled from Europe thanks to colonization. So, you know, of course, the Brits brought some of these stories with them to Australia and to South Africa and to Singapore and, you know, those kind of things. So they pop up around the world that way, but only because they traveled. Although in the Maritimes of Canada, there is the mummers, the mummering. And mummering is where you dress yourself completely opposite of who you are. Often men dress as women, women dress as men, but not like a drag show. This is, your face would be covered with like a sheet, and it looks horrific. I mean, if you opened your door and saw mummers like they do in Newfoundland, you would definitely call the police and, you know, reach for the pistol. But the point is they're trying to get into your house too, and you're trying to guess who they are because they're your neighbors. And if you guess correctly, then, you know, you win bragging rights. If you don't guess correctly, you offer them some free alcohol. And all night long, they're going house to house to house, getting more and more free alcohol. And by the end of the night, they're pretty ripped.
Oh, man. I love how so many of these legends that you talk about in the book, you know, have to do with getting wasted. Because that's where all that's where all the good stories come from, right? A good sit down at the fire, and you're drinking some, you know, mead, you know, and it's extra strength, and you're talking about someone that's going to put your kid in a stew. I mean, that's just great. Yeah, that's great stuff. Yeah. Well, the book is fantastic, Jeff. It really,
Thank you.
Like physically, it would make a beautiful gift. It's beautifully colored. It's got gold leaf and red and black. Great illustrations inside. And of course, the stories are excellent. And I highly recommend this to anyone who not just likes the holidays, but, you know, who loves monsters. I mean, this is the book. right here. So, Jeff, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you taking the time this year, and hopefully none of these creatures, except for that Italian one that'll clean your house. Who was she again?
Lavafana.
Lavafana. I hope she comes to your home this year.
Thank you very much. And Mike, I wish you and yours and all your listeners a very merry and also a very scary holiday season.